Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Kristin Steyerman, and I work for the City of Brea, and I am the Community Services Supervisor. The most important things that I've learned during this Women's Rising Leadership Academy is just to be myself, to be authentically myself. I think before sometimes I've pulled back a little bit and try to be like a cookie cutter of other people, but just knowing like what I bring to the table is so important. And I think just having that confidence doing all of these classes has been so helpful to me. So after some of these meetings, I have set important meetings with leaders in our organization, our city manager, community development director, and I kind of had the confidence from this to go ahead and set those meetings just to where I am in the organization and what I want out of my future and being, the person who owns my own future and all of that. So having these skill sets and tools have definitely helped me in the workplace. I've received so much positive feedback from the meetings that I have kind of set up. I was actually even able this past week to be involved in a study session. I've worked for the City of Brea for over 12 years. I've never gone to a study session for council before. And Jason and the community development director was so like, I could just hear him clapping after and so proud and all of that. So I felt so happy that like I'm making these moves and people are seeing that. I will apply what I've learned from this Women Rising Leadership to my career and my advancement is kind of taking away some of those simple things that we've talked about, like being influential. And I loved how, I think it was that you who had talked about it, is like my brand. So Kristin Steyerman, that's like what I bring to the table. And I think really kind of taking ownership of that and being able to move forward and making these meetings that I've had happen, but also just putting myself out there and making sure people are aware. Like if they don't know that you want to move up in the organization, kind of you can get stuck in a little bit of a box, but just making those moves, putting myself out there has been something that will be beneficial, I know, in my career development. This program has helped me interact with my peers at work. I think that they see the boldness that I have in my heart now, that I feel like I'm just so on fire for those next steps. And also being able to network with some people here in the group and in the Women Rising Leadership, building some more relationships. Like there's a few people who work in my organization here who I didn't really have the opportunity to have these intimate conversations with. And that has really allowed me to like build relationships, which I'm really happy about. And it's exciting to see like where it will all go from here. I would absolutely recommend this Women Rising Leadership to my peers. I've talked about it to several of my colleagues. I have somebody who works for me, and I would really love for her to be a part of the program, working on your leadership skills and your education and all of that. And just having an opportunity to talk about these things in a really like organic and beautiful way, I think is so important and I think is beneficial. So I'm so grateful for you and for all of this whole thing. And I definitely think people would benefit from this. Absolutely. The Women Rising Leadership has definitely impacted the way that I work with my boss in a really positive way. I remember that something that was said is like, you need to know what your boss's top 3 priorities are. And I realized I did not know those. So having those conversations, and she was so impressed with me asking that. And I love what was said. It's whatever your boss's priorities are your priorities. And I think that was such an important takeaway and something I'm really grateful for as well. Read this really interesting article, and it was about when President Kennedy had wanted NASA to put a man on the moon. So he went and visited NASA, and he ran into a janitor, and he asked the janitor, "What do you do here?" And the janitor answered, "I'm helping to put a man on the moon, sir." We all have this collective goal. We're all helping to try to get something to happen, right? And sometimes we're the janitor, and sometimes we're President Kennedy, and sometimes we're Neil Armstrong. And I think with this Women Rising Leadership, this is like a perfect example of all that you guys are doing, and us as a collective group too. It's like we're helping to get women in leadership roles, and you're kind of giving us the tools to help us to get there. So I think it's a perfect story and example. And again, I'm so grateful for all that you're doing. So thank you.